Today we're going to be starting the assembly of our MicroBeast single board computer Z80 system. We open the box and have a look at the instructions. The instructions have a good guide on the build order. As always, I normally solder these in place, starting with the lowest profile components and then working up to the higher profile ones. This kit makes it remarkably easy as they are colour coded on the parts list. Those which are colour coded in green in each bag need to be fitted first. So we will start with bag number 1, fitting one resistor and a number of diodes. The resistors also have their markings shown, as in brown, red, brown and gold. If in any doubt of what the value of a resistor is, you can always use a multimeter. So let's start with bag number 1. And there we have bag number 1 inside this anti-static pack. There we go, that has a number of items in it, and we are after the single resistor and the diodes. And we'll put the rest of the components out of the way. But we will of course need the PCB. And to make life easier, we will mount the PCB on a small stand to allow us easier access when doing the soldering. And there we have our PCB ready for soldering. So our first component is resistor 315. That's 315 in place, and we now have diodes 10 to 28. Our final diode from this packet, number 28. Now with those in place, we can now attempt to do some soldering. As always with soldering, you should have some eye protection on, just in case. As always when soldering, take your time, because it's much easier to fix problems as you go along than to fix them at the end. So let's now examine our board to make sure we haven't made any mistakes. And that all looks fine. So we can now snip off the excess leads. And the next set of components that needs to be fitted is a resistor out of bag number 2. And we have our single resistor, which is resistor 306. So we just have to locate that on our board. And that's 306 in place. We just have to solder it in there. So that's our component from bag number 2. We now move on to bag number 3. And we have 2 resistors here, both of the same values. That makes it easy to identify them. This method of bagging up the components into separate bags and a good parts list makes the construction that much easier. So we have 2 resistors, and these are resistor 10 and resistor 307. Now 307 I did see was up here at the top of the board, so we'll get that one in first. That's 307 in place, and we just have to locate now resistor 10. And we'll just solder these into place. As this is a slightly larger board than the RC 2014s, it does make it a little easier to solder. And those are the components from bag 3. We now move on to bag 4. And again in bag 4 we have 2 resistors, both of the same values, which again makes it easy to identify the component. And here are our 2 resistors. And we'll put the other components back. And this is R42 and R44. So that's bag 4 completed. We now move on to bag 5, which has a number of resistors of different types. So this is more of a challenge. So let's get all the resistors out of this bag. Now we have no less than 19 of the one type, which is a 10k resistor. And this is the 10k resistor. So we'll probably do that one first. And then we have another 10 resistors of that, 7 at 1k and 3 at 160 ohms. Right, and as always, a visual inspection to make sure we haven't missed any solder joints. And there we have added another layer of components to our circuit board. So we now have a range of diodes and resistors on the board. So now we have a number of other resistors to add. We have 7 1k resistors and 3 160 ohm resistors to add. So we'll add the 7 resistors first. These are going to be fitted first of all into resistor position R11. So if we can locate R11 on the board, so we'll solder these 7 resistors into place. Right, and we'll just snip these off. And that leaves us with merely 3 more resistors to fit. And these are the 160 ohm resistors. Resistor 61 is the next one we have to do. So that completes all the green marked entries for all the resistors and diodes. So we now have all of them securely soldered onto the board. So all our diodes and all our resistors are now fitted onto our board. So our next task is probably going to be the capacitors. But we're going to take a break and come back to this later. Before we start on the capacitors, we'll have a look at what components have been pre-fitted to the board. We have 2 surface mount chips, U41 and U42, which are used to drive the LED displays. Having these pre-fitted saves some precision soldering. Elsewhere on the board we have another surface mount component, U64, which is a USB to UART bridge controller, allowing the Z80 system to more easily integrate with USB. These close-up pictures of the circuit board are taken with a USB microscope, purchased on Amazon. Very inexpensive and ideal for this task. I've now fitted all the capacitors into their places. C38 puzzled me at first, as the printing on the circuit board implied that the capacitor needed a specific orientation. However, the capacitor supplied had only the value 105 marked and no orientation markings. So I'm assuming that the capacitor type changed after the circuit boards were printed. There are a lot of components in this kit, so take your time in assembling it. Now that the reset switch has been fitted at the corner of the board, it's time to fit the 47 tactile switches for the keyboard. These switches have 4 contacts and are easy to fit into the board if you attempt to slot all 4 legs in at the same time. A few of the switches needed a tiny amount of adjustment to align the legs with the holes on the circuit board. Next, the 14 segment displays can be added, taking care to align the pins with the holes on the circuit board. As you will see from the underside of these units, they are quite complex. Adding the keytops to the buttons and the decals to the keytops can take some time, but don't rush it. It did take me some time to peel off the backing of the filter and apply it to the 14 segment displays, but the end result is well worth it. And here we are at the final stages of our MicroBeast construction. The keyboard is complete, the display filter has been put on, and the speaker has been attached. We now have to check to make sure there's no short between +5 and ground on the GPIO header. That's fine, we've not got a short there. The next stage is to check the power supply to our unit. We have the jumper in place to ensure that power is coming in via the barrel jack. So we will power this using a small power bank. And as you can see, the LED light up at the top left hand corner is illuminated. So that's looking encouraging. So we're now ready to insert all the integrated circuits. So obviously we will then consult our instructions to make sure we plug them in the right place. So we have the Z80 going in at the top of the board. So we'll put the Z80 in first. And we'll just bend the legs into position. We don't need the multimeter anymore, so I think we will remove that from the desk to give us a little bit of room. Make sure the pins are lined up correctly. Oops, they're not quite. And that's our CPU in place. Next we will put the PIO in. These are the two largest chips. And we will just speed through the addition of the remaining chips, making sure that all the legs of the chips are bent into position before attempting to insert them into the sockets, and they're inserted in the correct orientation, as marked on the circuit board and the sockets themselves. It is now in place. Right, now we also need a 2032 button battery for here. And this needs to be positive side up. So we'll just slide this in. Right, that should be our button cell battery. Now the button cell batteries are not shipped with the product, you have to purchase these separately. Right, all we need to do now is to glue our speaker in place. But before we do that, we might want to try a power up just to see if we can get a display coming up. Plug our power in. And we have a live MicroBeast, displaying the MicroBeast version 1.5. And hit a reset button. Perfect. Now it appears we have an operational machine. So that completes this video. What we'll do in the next video is connect this to our computer and try running a few programs and accessing CP/M on the system. However, that's it for today. Thank you for watching.